Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome, welcome. It's day 18 in our 24 days of tags for 2021, and today our theme is baubles. Here I've embossed some bauble stamps with Wow gold rich metallic embossing powder. It's lovely. You can see it gives us this really deep, solid gold. I've also put some gold splatters on it, and then I've created the ribbons with white paint and a black Faber-Castell fine marker. This one's got an F on it, so it's the fine one. In the background, I've got a stencil. I've got feather leaf, and we are using just one colour today. So 6.5 centimetres by 12.5 centimetres. I finished it off with a couple of sheer coordinating ribbons. So we will get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tape my tag down. I'm using low tack tape from Sweet Poppy Stencils. You will know this is the best low tack tape I've ever found. It never marks your card. I'm going to take my feather leaf stencil, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring the stenciling to about here, and then we're going to bring the blending a little further, so it all looks as though it's gradual. I'm using one of these blending sponges today, and I'm just going to, in a circular motion, go over the top part of my tag, as I showed you, just bringing the stenciling probably a third of the way down. And then, you know how often I've been showing you that I'm using my acetate? Well, the other day I was making a mask with one of my post-it notes, and I suddenly thought, wow, what if I used the sticky part as my mask? So I fold it in half, back side, so that the sticky part is here, and now I'm not going to get my inky fingers over my work. So just something different if you didn't have any acetate. So again, same colour, tone on tone. I'm just going to bring it over my stenciling. And bringing it, extending it a little further down. Take my tape off now, because then I can move it around. So you can see how, because bringing the blending a little bit lower than the stencil, it makes it look a bit softer and a bit more gradual. Like that. Going to clean this mat off. So any baubles will do, bauble stamp. They often come on craft magazines if you collect those. These, as I say, from Kaiser Craft, they come in this fabulous set. I'm just going to dry the surface of this tag, because if we don't, any embossing powder that we pop on here is going to stick, and I don't want it to stick. And then I'm going to take my anti-static pad, and I'm just going to tap the surface of my tag with my chalk, and then I'm going to tap it off. Right, I'm going to bring my stamps in now, and I'm going to take my Versamark watermark stamp here, my embossing pad, and I'm going to ink up both of my baubles. Now often you'll have heard me say don't do twos, do odd numbers, because the eye can't decide which to look at. But because this is such a small tag and we've alternated the heights, we should be fine. So I'm going to pop this bauble with most of it in the white area, and then I'm going to ink up this one and put this one mostly in the purple area. And then I'm going to bring in my embossing powder. As I said, this is Wow embossing powder. It's called Metallic Gold Rich Regular. I love it. It's a solid colour and it will give you a lovely crisp embossed image. So a good flick off, and I'll heat that with my embossing gun, and as you know, I will warm the embossing gun up first before starting to heat it. It's always such a joy, isn't it, to watch that melt as you go. Now, before we do anything else, I'm going to tap my surface of my tag once again. Make sure that's cooled down a little bit. Tap it once again because we are going to put some splatters on it. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to use water. So a tiny bit of water, and I'm just going to tap this brush at the top part of the card, just over that stenciling there. Really don't want to be too generous with the water there because otherwise we will cover the entire tag. And there you can see there's a great effect. And again, I'm going to heat that one too. And now we're going to create our little ribbons. So here I've got some snowflake chalk acrylic paint. Any white acrylic paint would do. And I'm just going to pop a tiny bit onto my mat or my piece of acetate that I work from. And I am going to mix it with a tiny bit of water because that's going to make it flow a bit easier. I'm using the tiniest little brush. This says it's a 3.0. A tiny little fine brush here, but any sort of smooth brush will work. I'm going to turn it upside down because it's easier to drag it than it is to pull it down. So, and ribbons are never straight, are they? So you're going to see me wiggling this ever so slightly. I'm going to go over it a couple of times because this is chalk acrylic paint, so it will fade a little. And I'm just going to do the same here. Wiggle, wiggle. In an ideal world, we would load the brush up and it would be able to last the entire duration of the line. That isn't quite going to happen here. And it's okay because we want this to be wiggly because ribbons don't run smoothly. There we go. Now for this bit, you really do want your brush loaded well. Okay, be bold. It's just bunny ears. A flip this way. They do not have to be even, because often when we tie bows, they aren't even, are they? There we have it. And then the ribbon. Now keep the ribbon away from the embossing powder, because otherwise it sticks and it doesn't look that great. So that's it. And again, wiggly lines, because ribbons don't ever lay too flat. Well, sheer ribbons don't, do they? Now, as I say, because this is chalk acrylic, it is going to fade a little. So you might find yourself wanting to go over it a bit. If you had a different paint, perhaps you wouldn't have to go over it like I have. There we go. Now I'm going to wait for that to dry before we put our black little squiggles onto it. Always cleaning your brush straight away in some water. I never leave my paintbrushes in the water, because if you do, you damage them. I clean them thoroughly beforehand. I am going to give that a blast with a heat gun so that when I put my black lines on it, it doesn't stick. If you try to put your black lines when it is wet, you'll mess up both of them. Now, the black pens that I'm using, that's what these are, the Faber-Castell. There's a bigger pack as well. Fine is my favourite. I use the fine and the medium most often. Just making sure. You know what I might do? I might just punch my hole first. Okay, as I said, I'm taking the finest one. And again, wiggly waggly line. Look what I've done on here. And I've gone over it 2 to 3 times, each loop, each ribbon, and the strand at the top. And again, you start from the bauble and pull it down to the edge of the tag. Edge. And then you just go over it again, letting your hand run a bit loose. If you're too controlled, it's not going to look really soft. So there you go, just over your loops a couple of times, and then wiggly waggly for the ribbons floating down. So there you have it. That is day 18. Our theme is baubles. I would just thread the ribbon through it. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing your makes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.